Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Dr. Sarah Doyle. She is a licensed physical therapist, certified functional medicine practitioner, author of the 7X method. Welcome to the show, Dr. Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about how people can biohack their way to optimal health. In this backdrop, we'll have our discussion. But before that, let me understand for the audience a bit about you, directly from you, a bit about your journey to the place you are right now.
Yes, thank you. Let me give you my elevator speech. I spent the majority of my career working hands-on with clients, patients. I worked in hospitals. I worked in various units, orthopedic surgery, ICU trauma, neuro ICU, oncology, and of course, I worked the pandemic COVID ICU. One thing I learned, or one thing that changed me as a healthcare practitioner, was working in oncology. And when I saw the way cancer it's a beast on of its own. And the statistics are startling, especially now with our younger generations. In the United States, this is 1 out of 2 men will get cancer in their lifetime. That is absolutely unfathomable to me. What I learned working in oncology is that it all starts metabolically, and it's largely due to disruptions of circadian rhythms and also vitamin and mineral deficiencies.
Right, right. You want to add something more? I thought you were going to add, or is this done?
Sure. So I became certified in functional medicine and started coaching programs. After working many years in dysfunctional medicine, I started working in functional medicine, where I work one-on-one with clients, and in group settings, we work virtually because everybody's everywhere these days. And nobody wants to leave home for doctor's appointments. So luckily with technology, I can do all the lab work in the comfort of people's homes. It gets shipped to them. And then we can do follow-up consultations where I teach them lifestyle interventions. We do a deep dive into their medical history, surgical history, and really figure out the best plan of care for them, not just for the next 2-3 months, but for the rest of their life. The thing I want to get to people is how do you want to live the next 10 years of your life? How do you see the last 10 years of your life? Like, what you do now is going to impact that. So what we do is all functional medicine testing. We do nutrition intervention. We do vitamin and mineral supplementation, amino acids, herbs. I believe that God gave us everything we need on this planet, and big pharma has tried to obliterate that. And they, for example, they copy things like gabapentin that's often given to patients who have a lot of pain, nerve pain, and whatnot. But our brain makes GABA, our stomachs make GABA, and they have tried to, there's natural ways to do it. Just like patients who have Parkinson's, they're often given a medication called L-Dopa. Well, L-Dopa, you can get it in nature from another herb called Mucuna pruriens. I mean, you guys have Ayurvedic medicine in India, so I'm preaching to the choir. But so these are some of the interventions we use. I start everybody off with the 7X method. So the 7X method is a book. It took me 2.5 years to write, edit, publish, and it's distributed by Simon & Schuster. You can find it anywhere books are sold. It's right behind me there, 7X method. My other book, The Thin Formula, Thyroid Hormones, Intercourse, and Nutrition. 7X method was adopted from an eating program that I learned when I was traveling by myself in Central America. there's a healing center. It's a quantic medicine. It's like a quantic medicine healing center where people go where they have cancer and other diseases, and they've been healed using food as medicine. And it's heavy in circadian science. Like I said, all disease is a result of vitamin and mineral deficiencies and circadian rhythm disruptions. And if you catch things in time, you can reverse them.
Right, right, Dr. Sarah. Thank you for those details. Now, I want to understand about, we'll come to your book also separately. I want to understand, you talk about the gut, and you say most of our health problems, they start from the gut. What is the connection of these health problems with the gut? How should a general person understand it, and how should they understand it pure from a optimal health point of view, so that those people who just listen to this episode, they understand it and are able to implement in their lives, wherever they are, in whichever part of the world they are.
Yes, absolutely. Much of our immune system will come from the gut. Our stomach produces a lot of chemicals that, like, for example, we always thought that serotonin, we know if you don't have enough serotonin, you have depression, but the majority of it's made in your stomach, right? So you have to have a healthy stomach in order to have healthy brain chemistry. So what happens if you don't have a healthy stomach? Well, we call that like gut dysbiosis. So dysbiosis just means that the bacteria is unbalanced. We really have discovered that the microbiome is so much more important than we previously thought. In recent research in the last 5 to 7 years, we've discovered that the microbiome help coordinate some of the circadian clocks in our bodies. So we have our main circadian rhythm. We wake up, we open our eyes, light hits the retina in our eyes, and through the cranial nerve, it goes to a little nucleus in your brain, and that starts your main circadian rhythm. Well, what they found is that what they found with the quantic medicine program, where the 7X method originated, was that all of our organs and systems have their own circadian rhythm as well. Now, that healing center has been around for over 50 years. We're a little bit behind in Western medicine. The 2017 Nobel Prize for Medicine and Physiology was awarded to 3 scientists who discovered that there are these little peripheral clock genes in all of our cells. So what we're learning is that the microbiome in your stomach helps coordinate all of this. And we have the gut-brain axis through the vagus nerve. That's another cranial nerve. When I say cranial nerve, there is a group of nerves that come from the brainstem. And I think it's really cool how God made us like this, because, even if somebody has like a spinal cord injury, you can still hold your head up through your cranial nerves. You can still get all of your basic functions through the cranial nerves. Well, with the exception of the phrenic nerve. But for the most part, we get a lot of our like reptilian instinctual stuff comes from there. All of the stuff that happens, our autonomic stuff, right? So what else destroys the microbiome? Alcohol, right? Alcohol's an antiseptic, right? We use alcohol to clean wounds and sterilize things. So that's bad. Antibiotics, we know there's way too many antibiotics. Another thing that's really bad is sugar, right? Because sugar will feed bad bacteria and cause fungal imbalances, which is also disruptive to the gut-brain axis and will increase blood-brain barrier permeability. What else is bad? All the pesticides. So the United States uses a lot of pesticides that they don't allow in other countries. And pesticides, think about that. So pesticides are made to kill bugs on your grains, on your vegetables, on whatever. So when you start eating them, you're killing the bugs inside your tummy. Our bodies are made up of almost twice as many bacterial cells as actual human cells. It's pretty wild. So when you think about your health and your immune system, I want you to think about eating to support your microbiome, because that's going to give you the best optimal brain health, especially if you're struggling with fatigue. I definitely recommend checking out the book 7X Method. You can get it. I did the Audible thing if you want to listen, although it's half of it's like recipes, but it talks about there's no calories, there's no fat grams. It's all about your organs and systems needing specific types of energy at specific times a day. So we're theorizing that our stomach makes digestive enzymes for specific types of food, specific times a day. Because when I started implementing the 7X method with my coaching program, my coaching patients, a lot of them said, my heartburn went away. I don't have stomach aches. I don't have gas anymore. I don't have bloating. My dandruff went away. My eczema went away. My carpal tunnel went away. My knee pain went away. My neuropathy went away. Like, I'm hearing all these things just using food as medicine.
Absolutely, absolutely, Dr. Sarah. Food as medicine. But from a normal person's perspective, when we talk of gut, we talk of nutrition. And if you talk of nutrition, then without going into changing the world, because for a common person, it is difficult to change the world. They can only change what they are eating. How do they decide what to eat and what not to eat in the present days when the world is, in toxic and full of pesticides and so many things in almost all parts of the world? What would you recommend, or what would you suggest for a normal person to be careful to in terms of able to take care of their gut health?
Sure. I'll regurgitate something that one of the internal medicine doctors used to say when I worked at the hospital. He used to tell patients, if it didn't grow in the ground or have a mother, you probably shouldn't eat it. So basically, eat food as it's grown, like whole foods, like eat food that looks like what it looks like. Like if it is something on the label that you never heard of, can't pronounce, probably shouldn't put it in your body. It's just going to disrupt your stomach and disrupt your brain. You don't want that. So that's like the first main step. And I mean, it's daunting because there's a lot of other stuff out there, but money talks, right? So like, we have a chain of supermarkets in the United States called Whole Foods, and Whole Foods is always their priority. Their mission has always been to provide food that's free of all the garbage. And people used to say to me like, oh, it's more expensive, right? But they call it whole paycheck because you spend your whole paycheck at Whole Foods. But I said, look, it's cheaper than chemotherapy. I'll tell you that. You spend a year working in an oncology unit, and you realize that what people eat make them sick. And I don't want to be sick, and then money talks. So when you start purchasing meat from responsible farmers who treat their animals with kindness, it's a little more expensive, but you're helping the little guy who treats animals well, not the mass producer whose animals have suffered their entire life and died in a horrible way, right? So, right. When you buy organic produce, you're rewarding the farmer who wanted to do the right thing for people.
Absolutely. Well explained, Dr. Sarah. Now let's come to another aspect of our health. One is the environment, the toxic environment, and our hormones. How should we understand what is the relation between them? You talk a lot about hormones, so I'm sure a lot of learning is there when you'll be talking about this.
Absolutely. One of the number one things that affects men and women are the toxins found in plastics. They're called xenoestrogens. And why? It's because the chemicals they closely resemble estrogen. And it's kind of like so your liver is the only thing that will process your hormones. And when you start filling yourself with toxins, it prioritizes getting the toxins out and then doesn't have enough time or energy or whatever to take care of its regular jobs of processing your own hormones. So estrogens, the xenoestrogens are it's like estrogen's like a key that fits into a lock, and a xenoestrogen, it's not quite the same, but close enough that it will fit the lock. And so they clog up your liver. And these xenoestrogens are pesticides. They are all the fragrances and our laundry detergents and our candles that we're breathing in. They're all the microplastics that come from drinking plastic water bottles, cooking in plastic, cooking your foods on Teflon pans, and our body just gets bogged down. And some of these toxic estrogens can be potentially carcinogenic. So in my coaching program, I test all the hormones and the downstream metabolites. And then I can look and see, okay, does this person have a genetic predisposition to not be able to flush these things out? And if so, then I'll recommend some supplements to help their body do what's supposed to do. The other thing are heavy metals. Our fish. If a fish is bigger than the size of your plate, then it's lived long enough to absorb a lot of toxins from the water. Unfortunately, there's just so much pollution. And these heavy metals will intercept your thyroid, I want to say metabolism. Let me just try to simplify it. So not only having like the amalgam fillings in your mouth, that the metal ones with the mercury, that will off-gas mercury and disrupt the thyroid, but also eating fish. There's a lot of heavy metals in drinking water sometimes, cigarette smoke, and then just general air pollution. So, the more toxins are in your body, the more your liver has to work overtime, and it may not be able to take care of your sex hormones. So when your sex hormones are low, you don't feel good. Whether you're a man or a woman, you end up with brain fog, you end up tired, you have no libido, you lose your professional drive at work. A lot of things happen. So these toxins are playing a role in some of the hormone problems that we're seeing develop in people younger and younger ages.
Right, Dr. Sara. So, in terms of when we think of food as medicine, are there some foods that can tackle the negative impacts of this toxic environment that we live in? Again, wherever one lives in all across the world, how is there something that can cut off the negative effects or create, as much as possible negative effects?
Sure. So for heavy metals, you can have cilantro. Cilantro works really well with chelating, lead, mercury. I'm not sure lead. I know for sure aluminum and mercury. I can't remember if it's lead or not. Modified citric pectin, chlorella. These things can help detox the heavy metals. And then we want to support our liver with things like N-acetylcysteine, glutathione, selenium. Selenium is a very important mineral that gets depleted with toxins. And then when we go over to the toxic estrogens that are part of all the plastics that we live with, cruciferous vegetables contain sulforaphane and indole-3-carbinol. So these two substances help support the liver detox of the toxic estrogens.
Right, Dr. Sara. Now let's come to your book, The 7X Method. What is this book about? Who is this book for? Because in a world, is it for the common person or someone who already knows about these things?
All right. Well, originally, the way I wrote it, my publisher took one look at it and said, this reads like a medical research paper. And I was like, sorry, that's how my brain thinks. So I paid a lot for editors to make it palatable to the common folk. It took me as long to edit it as it did to write it. And it is designed for, anybody. And it's, when you think about doing a diet, you want to think to yourself, is this something I can do for the rest of my life? If it's not, you probably shouldn't do it, right? So if you want to avoid side effects of some of these crash diets like carnivore diet, keto, all that, pick something that you can do forever, right? We know the Mediterranean diet has been highly tested and researched for its benefits. The 7X method divides fruits, vegetables, grains, animal meats, all into 7 different food groups. I want you to think about, I don't know, high school or middle school when you learned about the periodic table of elements. We know that these elements were grouped in different columns depending on their valence electrons and their electric charge. Well, energy, like when we say we look at a rainbow, we know a rainbow has 7 different colors because the frequency of the wavelength is different. Well, with food, it's the same. So what they've done at this quantum medicine center, this healing center in Central America, is they have measured the energy of a food using the spectrophotometer. And this matches up with the predominant wavelength of light that comes from the sun at a certain time. And then this frequency matches up with an organ or system. So let me put it all together. Think about, you go to the gym, you lift weights, you go home, you eat some protein, and then you rest and you do it again. Well, our organs and systems are all the same. They take turns peaking and resting in activity. So we open our eyes at 7 a.m. and it's great to, if you can, get outside and get some real sunlight in your eyes. This is the best way to activate all your circadian rhythms of all your organs and systems, not just your main sleep-wake cycle. We start that 7 a.m. 7 to 9 a.m. is a purple group. And foods in the purple group will nourish your pituitary gland, your pineal gland, and your DNA, which this makes sense because we know that our sleep hormone, melatonin, gets pumped out by your pineal gland all night long. And then as soon as you open your eyes, it gets off its work shift. It wants to eat some food from the purple group, which is like dark berries, cacao, nuts, coconuts, seeds, and coffee or tea. Then the next group, from roughly from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. is the blue group. And the blue group nourishes your thyroid and your hyaluronic acid production. Well, we know that the circadian rhythm of the thyroid pumping out T4, it works really hard overnight and it goes on break from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. roughly. So that's why a lot of people who have low thyroid or low thyroid hypothyroidism, they feel tired in the afternoon because that's when their thyroid gets off its work shift and it's resting. Our next group is the green group. It's kinetic energy that nourishes our genitals, our sensory organs, our kidneys, and it's green foods like, all the green vegetables and lettuces and avocados. And at this time of day, the dominant frequency of light from the sun is green. So that's like the first half of the day. I'll let you read the book and get the second half. But what you can see is all of our organs and systems take turns resting and peaking in activity. Right before they rest, they want nourishment, and they want nourishment from certain foods at a certain time of day, and it correlates with the energy from the sun. It's pretty insane, awesome. Once my clients do it for 1 week, they don't want to get off. They don't even want to get off of it for like 3 hours. They want to just stay on it because their energy feels good. They're sleeping better. Their aches and pains go away. It's really remarkable. I just brought it into my coaching program and the results were so amazing. I was like, I have to write a book about this. Like, God did not tell me this information to keep it to myself. Go spend the money, get a publisher, get somebody to edit it, go in the sound booth with a producer, do the audible, make it accessible to everybody because this is profound information. It needs to be shared with the world. And it's free. You're going to eat anyways. All you do is change the time of day that you eat foods. You can eat what you want to eat. I mean, barring processed foods and deep fried animals. You just have to change what time of day you eat it.
Now, after the book,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you at all.
You can't? Can you hear me?
Yep, now I can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now, learning a lot from your book. Now let's learn a bit more about your biohacking boot camp. Tell us a bit about that so that people know where they can learn a lot from.
I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Okay. Is it okay? Skip. Yes, Sarah. Can
Okay, almost.
this possible? Okay. Sarah.
Well, while you're waiting on that, I'll talk about my coaching program. So I mentioned that I start the coaching program with the 7X method. I have a 10-week biohacking boot camp, and I started off coaching women because I don't know how the medical school is in India, but for medical schools in the United States, there's very little education for doctors and even OBGYNs who deliver babies on how to work with women in menopause. And women spend at
Right.
least 30%, maybe more of their life in menopause. So I developed a coaching program, and then men chimed in. So I brought men into it too. We all need help with our hormones as we age. When our hormones decline, we become at risk for developing heart disease. And we can fix this by keeping your hormones balanced. Now, when your hormones are off balance, when you're going through your second puberty or menopause, or when men are just going through andropause slowly, these dysregulations in your sex hormones will affect your brain chemistry. So a lot of these symptoms that people have
Right.
for low hormones that they go to the doctor for could honestly be from brain chemistry. So we have this 10-week boot camp. We start with the 7X method, and while my clients wait for these urine tests to be shipped to their home, they do the urine test, they ship it off, and the lab will tell me, are there symptoms coming from hormones or are there symptoms coming from brain chemistry? I have a one-on-one with them, and we discuss how we can change these things and bring everything into balance. So they meet every Tuesday with me. I have a 7 p.m. Eastern group coaching session where I teach on a subject, and then we open it up for Q&A. So this kind of works like cognitive behavioral therapy, right? So it's kind of like school, but not really. There's not really homework. It works so that, people learn. When people start learning and understanding about their bodies from a board certified clinician and not a TikTok influencer, things start to really make sense. A lot of my clients have been searching the internet, looking for ways to help their health through influencers because their primary care doctor is clueless, or they've had a bad experience using prescription drugs and they don't want to go back to their primary care doctor. So people are left going to social media, trying to find TikTok influencers to fix their health. So by the time they get to me, they've gone down so many rabbit holes. And the 10-week boot camp really allows things to put everything into place. And these little snippets that they've learned everywhere out in the world, they start to bring them back together. And this is how my patients get long-term success. With the 7X method, they start losing weight the first week. Sometimes people lose 5 pounds in a week because of the inflammation from food. And then once we get the thyroid test, the heavy metal test, the hormone test, and the brain chemistry test back, then we use nutraceuticals. So we use therapeutic levels of pharmaceutical grade vitamins, minerals, herbs, and amino acids. So what this means, as we look at the test results, and either through environment or epigenetics or actual genetics, I can see what therapeutic levels I need to bring this patient into range. So at the end of the 10-week program, these people feel fantastic and they're really set for life. And not only that, they have an app with all the online courses, everything we talked about in the 10 weeks that they can listen to for life. So if they ever fall off track, they can always go back and listen to the courses. I mean, they can always come back and book another appointment. But if you're interested in hearing more, I do offer a discovery call. It's a 30-minute Zoom. You can find it on my website. It's drsarahdoyle.com. It's DRSARAHDOYLE.com. You can go on there and book a discovery call with me, and we can Zoom for 30 minutes, talk about your health, learn from a well-trained, I've gone to school for 14 years, so you don't have to. Okay. So it'll probably be one of the most powerful meetings that you get to have with a practitioner. That's what I'm told. You actually get to be heard. If you go onto my website right now, you'll see there is a biohacking boot camp. So it is listed at $5,000. If you are a US resident, you can go on there and purchase it today. I'm giving a $2,000 discount to all of the listeners of this podcast. You simply type in capital K, capital A, capital J, 2000, and that will get you a discount so that the coaching package is only $3,000. And it has all the labs you need, all the consultations you need. You get the group coaching, you get the app, you get the courses, and you get 24/7 support with me through my WhatsApp number. And then the cool thing is that my patients have, we made like a group chat. It wasn't even my idea. My patients wanted to, because there's so much support in the group and everybody gets to know each other. And it's just such a loving, supportive environment that everybody wants to stay in touch, even, after the 10 weeks is over, and they want to talk about things that are not necessarily health related. Like it's really cool. So it's a phenomenal experience. If you've been looking for something like that, it's available for you today. If you just want to talk about your health, you can book a Zoom call with me, and I'm happy to help you there too. I know that it's hard to find a good practitioner. It's hard to find somebody who can really help you and who really cares. And I'm in this business not because I'm making $1 million, but because I really care about people.
Wonderful. Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Bye, everybody.